Hello, and welcome to reCapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Hello, Ashley.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm hanging in. How about you?
Same. Are you excited? Are you ready to go back to 2019?
In reality, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because we'd have to relive through a pandemic. But for the sake of this recap, we can wind it back. You know what I mean? Like 2019 is right there on 2020. So that's all I think of.
I know. What a time. Well, the reason why I'm asking about 2019 is because we're going to talk about something that happened then based off of this documentary, The Truth About Jussie Smollett. It is rated TVMA. It's a documentary. It is 1 hour and 26 minutes. It released August 22nd, 2025. Here's a quick summary. Jussie, I'm not trying to make fun of this man's name, but so many people said his name in interesting ways when this event happened. So some of it is like Jussie Smollett recounts his story, addressing whether it is a hate crime or a hoax. Jussie Smollett is the most notable person, but they have former members of the Chicago Police Department, such as Melissa Staples, Annie Johnson, and a myriad of interesting characters. This documentary was directed by Gagan Rehill. In terms of ratings, the only rating I was able to find was from IMDb, and it was 4.8 out of 10. So I thought that was interesting. Ashley, what's your grade for The Truth About Jussie Smollett?
I didn't give this a grade. I'm getting the sense that I don't really grade documentaries because it's hard to gauge. And this was a case and a story that is so murky still. I don't know how to rate it outside of some of the sentiments I have about people who participated, which I'll discuss once we actually get into it. But it's I guess rating NA. What about you?
Yeah, I'll just join your bandwagon today because I really didn't have any strong opinions about this particular documentary. There are some documentaries that I absolutely love and would, gladly rate A+. This isn't one of them, just because I don't know if this is a trend, but I like to have a beginning, middle, and end to my documentaries. You know what I mean? And this one and the last one we did, Amy is missing.
Yep, Amy Bradley is missing.
I just is like, this is feeling very inconclusive for me. And I don't know if I love that. So, but this is an interesting story. And I guess I should have known somebody was going to want to document it, right?
Inevitable. Really?
Inevitable. All right. So with nothing else, let's go ahead and get into our spoiler alert. Ashley, what were you doing January 29th, 2019?
I have no idea. Probably working, sounds like. If that was a regular weekday, who knows? I don't have that good of recall even what happened yesterday, let alone back in 2019. My brain chemistry has changed since then.
I know. Do you remember that polar vortex, though?
Now, I do remember some cold winters that happened, but remember, I was in Florida. So
that's true.
My winters were not the same as these Midwest, because this setting is in Chicago.
Yes.
As these Midwest and Northern winters whatsoever.
I definitely remember getting ready for my child's first birthday around that time. And it was cold. Okay. And, the weather is an essential component of this particular story because Jussie Smollett, Dave Chappelle calls him Jussie Smollett or something crazy. Do you remember that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I first remember him and his family. They had like a season of the show with all of them. Like, I think there's like 7 children. He
Yep.
was in the Mighty Ducks, you
Damn. I
know.
don't remember that.
No,
No. I mean, kind of, but like Jurnee was always the sibling that I
you
knew.
remember, right? Journey, same, but he was there. I almost wonder what, our boo Joshua thinks.
He probably talked about it amongst his people, but
I'm sure. I'm
not
sure.
publicly. They all had that same smile, though, all those
They all look
siblings did.
alike.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But we really got to know him for his role in Empire as Jamal Lyon, the middle child. Empire filmed in Chicago. And according to Jesse himself, he was coming back from LA. He was hungry. He went to get a Subway sandwich and then he was attacked and had a noose wrapped around his neck, and he was called homophobic and racist names. And he picked up his sandwich and went back to his home and called the police.
Well, he didn't call the police.
Well, no, he didn't call the police. His people did. But I think it's interesting because according to him, he didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, but this story blew up. And the reason why it blew up is because we have to remember the setting. This was first term Trump. MAGA is in office. They were, very proud with their hate.
Yeah.
There was a lot of social unrest, especially around the police. And for a young Black man to be attacked in that way, it burned like wildfire. The media blew it up. And he said he was surprised by that. For me, it's not surprising that it blew up, but how about you, Ashley?
I mean, I think he, at the time, may have underestimated his star power if he thought that was going to be the case, just because Empire was also such a huge show. I mean, it was the number one show on Fox.
It was.
And to your point, yes, the cultural climate at that time, yeah, it was going to be major.
Let's talk about Empire just really quick because I was definitely a fan. It was so full of melodrama. Like it was the type of television that I was like, why am I watching this? But oh my
Hmm.
goodness, that song was fire. Like you remember Drip? like you're so beautiful. Like there were songs I legit put on my playlist because it was about, and they were, as you mentioned, leading both in ratings and the Billboard charts. What was most memorable for you for the show? Like, did you have a favorite scene, a favorite song?
No, I mean, I got into Empire for probably the first couple of seasons, and then it just got a bit outrageous to me. Like, I mentioned to you before we started recording again, whoever, I think it was with the oldest brother's wife, when they pushed her down the steps and stuff, I was like, okay, I think I'm done. I think I get tired of like in family fighting dramas. Like, that was one of
Mm-hmm.
the reasons that I had a
Soapy
hard
ones.
time getting into Succession for a long time and
Mm-hmm.
getting the hype about that show. Cause I mean, it just feels so redundant season after season to figure out who's going to top the family that season and what theatrics are going to take place. So that's, I kind of got tired of that generally. But I mean, the show, the cast was still, fantastic. I'd be thinking about Brashear all the time because it seems like he's not well.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's really sad. Um,
Drip, drop, drip, drippity, drop. You remember that?
yes, I do. But I mean, it was a time, right?
It
Like
was a moment.
this was a juggernaut for Fox.
It was. It was. For me, Cookie Lion all day in various various scenes. her showing up with her lingerie, her smacking the mess out of Lucian's current, was she his wife or fiance or something like that?
You talking about played by Grace Byers?
Yes, and she's the sweetest. She's the sweetest, and I'm like, this was our introduction to her.
Yeah, that short haircut was fire though.
I know. I'm saying all this to set the scene that Empire was definitely that show back in the day. So yeah, this was, Jussie was flying high. He also had a record deal with freaking Columbia Records. Like, that's nothing too shabby.
Yep.
But I don't know what happened, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But I actually recently read this book called Big Leap by, I believe his name is Gay Hendricks. Hundreds. Sorry, sir, if I said your name wrong. But one of the things he talks about is, how do you get to the next level without, self-sabotaging yourself, essentially. And he calls the types of self-sabotage upper limit problems. And it's like whenever things are going good and then all of a sudden you panic or you do something stupid and it catches up to you and you fall short on your ass. To me, this was Jussie's upper limit problem because he was riding so high and then this happened. One of my other questions to you, Ashley, is do you think Jussie is a good actor?
I mean, if this is all a hoax, no. But generally, I mean, like for shows and things, I saw him and yeah, I enjoyed him. Didn't have any issues. I mean, I again love Jurnee, and that has been
Period.
the person in the family that I've gravitated towards. But yeah, Jussie was cool. It's cool.
So the reason why I'm asking this is because it's like I have had the hardest time determining whether or not this man is guilty or not. For the most part, I don't know if I believe him. And I say that because it's just really shady. Like, who is out at a polar vortex? You know what I mean? At 2:00 in the morning. But apparently he was.
I gotta be for real though. When they talked about, oh, it seems unusual that you would be out at 2 a.m. and all that, I'm thinking like, bro, if I'm hungry though, like if I just got off a flight and I ain't got no food in my house, like I am probably one of those people too where I'd be like, yo, I just got to go run out real quick. Like, especially he's downtown Chicago, so things are accessible. Yeah. And he thought at first he was going to Walgreens, and then Walgreens is close, and then he went to Subway. So it's like, I feel that though. Like, I've definitely had like a late night, I'm hungry run, and he's an actor, so his hours are different, his schedule is different. To me, that was not weird.
I hear you. To me, it was the cold weather aspect of it because it was chilling. And then the other piece that I found to be unbelievable is a MAGA person knowing who he is from Empire. Like, I would love to see that cross section of like Trump loving avid watcher of Empire. That's where I'm just like, huh. Now, I don't doubt that he was getting all types of hate mail that came out, like in this documentary. His assistant attested to that. But it just, I'm like, okay, sure.
And maybe they weren't an avid watcher of the show. They just know who he is and what he's doing more so.
Okay. The police was called. Jussie talked about just feeling overwhelmed with the response, so much so he felt like he was being utilized in some ways. And he said that it was emasculating for him as a man. I thought that was an interesting take. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I had not heard his feelings or thoughts about it from the support that he received when the incident happened. So yeah, I mean, to an extent, sure, I could see that, especially because he probably just didn't want, if we're to believe his word, he did not want to be seen, especially publicly, as like a victim. He's like, I'm a grown man. I handled my business. They may hit me. I hit them too, that sort of thing.
I fought back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially like, I think there also was a stigma because he's a gay man that he would not be defending himself necessarily. He's like, yo, I'm good. I had it.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I feel like there's like three parties in this whole conversation. It's Jussie, it's the Chicago police, and the media. I do feel like the media plays a very interesting role. He didn't want to do any interviews, but his team insisted that he go and talk to Robin Roberts. You know, at face value, it seemed like a safe place to land. You know what I mean? You always want to look for Black people in media when telling your story. Again, looking for that safe
And
place,
also
but
Black and gay.
queer.
So,
Exactly. So it's for the win, right?
mhm.
But who do you think had it worse, Gail or Robin? And I say that I am bringing it all the way back to when R. Kelly sat down to
Mhm.
talk to Gail and his infamous, "I'm fighting for my life. Y'all
Mm-mm.
are killing me."
Mm-mm. Disgusting. Definitely Gail. Definitely Gail. Definitely Gail. But
But I,
this
I,
turned into
I,
such a shit show. So,
girl, so much so. And again, he was just like, I fought back. And I'm like, I would love to know Robin's real like thoughts on how that interview went and whether or not she believed him. But guess what? That interview ended up rolling the ball to more mess. So the Chicago Police Department was investigating the incident. They didn't have a lot of cameras. They relied a lot on the porch cameras with the rings,
mhm.
and such. And then the ride share, they said, again, because of how cold it was, there was only one ride share in that general area of the event. It went to these these brothers, Ola and Bola. I'd love to get your initial reactions to these men, Ashley.
Yo, this cast of characters that we find in this documentary just makes me not take this project that seriously because
Listen.
where did these brothers come from? Especially the one with the nose ring and the cowboy hat. Like my guy seemed like he was full
Girl.
in character.
Yes.
I cannot take him seriously. It made them the least believable aspect of this whole thing. I'm like, throw their whole testimony away because they're full of shit.
Period.
Throw
Period.
all of that away. So,
Completely agree. Bola is friends with Jesse. Again, his his statement, "Oh, I was friends with Jesse. It made me feel really important. I'm not just an extra." Like, sir, what? But his brother Ola was the first one who was on the show. They are athletes, and we find out that Bola was not only Jesse's friend, but his trainer. And he gets this mysterious text like, "Can I ask you for something on the low, aka drugs?" There's this infamous check for $3,500. The Chicago police brought these brothers into custody. They weren't talking initially. The interview happens, and then all of a sudden, I feel like, I don't know, they decided to start talking. They bring up the check. They bring up the fact that Jesse asked him to beat him up because it's a quote Hollywood thing. So this is where I don't know how to feel about this story overall, but what I will say is this: I wouldn't not believe the story of, okay, they didn't start talking initially. They didn't talk initially because Ola had a felony, right? And he still wanted to be an actor. The Chicago police was trying to, clean up this case as fast as possible and convince these men to tell their story. I would find that very interesting and somewhat believable. I think it would also require a level of sophistication that neither parties actually have. But that did cross my mind because I'm like, how do you go from not saying anything to saying, "Oh yeah, he paid us," and blah 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 blah? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm confused when you say that it's believable that they would tell their story. You mean that it's true?
I think it would be believable if I were to believe a form of the truth. This is to say if Jussie's story is true and he was attacked actually by white men and not these brothers. These brothers took the fall to cover up for the brothers' felony. That's what I'm trying to say. They would say, like, yeah, we did it. This is how we did it. This is what the check is for. And I say that because, again, this is where Jussie's holes started showing really brightly for me. He was like, oh, this was embarrassing. I wasn't trying to tell anybody. I was trying to get an herbal steroid from Africa to lose some belly fat. Like, sir, what? You know what I mean? Or, oh, I didn't tell people certain things because I had a drug, problem. I didn't want people to know that. There's holes everywhere, Ashley. But I'm just saying, when it comes to these brothers, I don't believe anything they have to say, as you mentioned as well.
Yeah. And I guess it did seem plausible that because one of the brothers had something they could hold over him and they found guns and all these things that they're not supposed to have, that yes, they could get them to concoct a version of events that fit into the story and narrative they wanted to tell. But as I said, everybody was getting side eyes from me. The Jussie interviews, the brothers interviews, like it felt to some extent, I was like, it feels like a reenactment from actors versus the people who are actually involved in this. And that's so odd to me.
Yeah. Was there anyone who had a credible story? Because I'm not gonna lie, even the brothers' lawyers, she didn't seem legit
The brother's lawyer felt definitely like one of those Hollywood lawyers who like feeds off of, or wannabe Hollywood lawyers who feeds off of this type of attention.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the journalist who was investigating this completely outside of the police or anything like that, who brought some facts to the story, was interesting to me because I didn't know some of the information she discussed.
Yeah.
But again, it just watching it, I was like, yo, what is this?
What is it? It's a mess. Gloria Rodriguez was the name of their lawyer. And to your point, she just seemed just really excited to get in the mess.
She was cheesing, smiling. Was I intimidated? No, of course not. Me?
And again, this is where Jussie's story started getting kind of sus to me. Why is he going and hiding when Chicago PD was like, all right, you a fraud. This is a hoax. They literally had to intimidate him out of hiding. And then he was arrested. That's why I'm like, but according to him, he's like, why would I confess to something that I didn't do? He was very adamant about his story. But what doesn't help is with the police department, especially Eddie Johnson, especially with his testimony, you find out like he just seems so ready to like throw out all of Jussie's claims. And I'm like, what did Jussie ever do to you? Like it just felt personal, didn't it?
Both of the main two police officers that were interviewed definitely seemed like they took this case very personal. The lady was like, this is the first time I've ever talked about this. This is the last time I ever talk about this. I'm getting heated just thinking about it. And I'm like, yeah, they definitely seemed to feel it was a personal attack against them specifically, with them feeling like this was somehow a hoax. Again, if I'm going to say everybody's sus, I mean, literally everybody is a little bit sus in this.
Easy.
Which is why it feels so complicated.
Yes.
As a case.
Yes. Exactly. The police claim that he is doing all this because he wanted a higher salary. He had to turn himself in. Again, he was convicted of orderly misconduct the first time around. And then he was able to reach a deal with Kim Fox. And again, she dropped the charges, but she didn't exonerate him. But then his speech was very much like, freedom! And this is where I think it gets very interesting, Ashley, because the Chicago PD was like, nah, we ain't letting this go. And they brought in a special prosecutor to charge him with 5 felonies.
Yeah.
They said we had time today. This is where I felt like, why is all of Illinois' taxpayer energy going into this case?
Yeah, it was like it's like he went up against the city itself. Like the mayor's upset, the police are
Yes.
upset. Like it
Yes.
was it how dare he make these charged accusations against our city? Yeah, that was fascinating.
I just like, what did this man do? Even if this is a hoax, I can't see it. Who am I kidding? But you know what? Did it require this much work? It's just so fascinating. But this is where it gets interesting. There were witnesses. There
Mm-hmm.
was Anthony Moore and Rebecca Bell who were able to corroborate what happened to Jussie. They saw this white man's in the middle of a polar vortex, and it was somehow just not a part of, the case. Were any of these witnesses potentially trustworthy for you, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, so this was like the new information and evidence that I had not recalled ever hearing before that I found interesting because, yeah, for two people to say they also saw Caucasian man in a ski mask or whatever the kind of facial covering he had was, yeah, I mean, that was compelling, right? Because then it's not just Jussie against everybody else. It's like, hey, these are innocent bystanders who are saying they also witnessed this. And for me, it is what gave any level of credibility to Jussie's tale. Because I was like, yo,
Yes.
it could be true that like the police are setting this up
Yeah.
like it was a targeted attack and then they have set it up to be something else.
Yeah. I talk about them going in so hard. In some ways, I'm like, are y'all trying to save face after everything that happened with Laquan McDonald? That young man being shot 16 times, Ashley. I
Yep.
remember when that footage became available, unfortunately, on social media, they were like the undoctored videos became available. And I'm just like, this is so horrific.
Yep.
And so doubt doubt is there when it comes to the police department. But then you mentioned the investigative reporter, her name is like Shelly Stanley. She out the gate was like, yeah, my dad has, knows about the problems with this department. For you, do you feel like she had a bias because of her family history with the Chicago Police Department, or were you still able to believe what she found?
I mean, I think there was still compelling evidence given that she had the video surveillance from the hotel of that security guard and there are 10 seconds missing.
Right.
That's not
Right.
that's not something that's just a word of mouth thing. We see it. We see the time jump. And when she requested those 10 seconds was denied. So
Yep.
those types of things again are compelling to say, okay, well this could have for real just been like a setup, which is wild.
Which is wild. Yeah. And she also found that the cops who were on the case had a history of hate speech. After watching this the first time and just thinking about it, in some ways, the reason why it got so much attention is because he's a Black gay man. But in some ways, I feel like the way that people discredit him is because of those factors as well. And it's really heartbreaking. That's obviously not the reason why I distrust what he has to say, because it's so murky. It's so murky. I am extremely impressed on how his family was by his side 10 toes down.
Yeah.
But I was surprised they were not in the documentary. Ashley, were you hoping to hear from his family?
Nah, I don't think that it would have been necessary or really helped, in my opinion, to bring his siblings or his mom or anything like that through this. Like, we had him, we had his direct thoughts and testimony and recollections, and then we had the police and we had the brothers. Like, I think that was a circus enough for me.
Yes, he was convicted of 5 felonies. He was sentenced to 150 days and only served 6. The fact that he only served 6, though, was very interesting to me. You know what I mean? Like, was this really trying to, this is where I'm like, were they trying to prove a point with him or something? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, one could say he just, I mean, I don't want to say got lucky because who even wants to spend 6 days in prison if you're innocent? But, it's just weird. It was just it's still so weird to me. Never saw it
Yeah.
coming. Probably won't see it again.
Yeah. Well, the Illinois Supreme Court in 2024 overturned Jussie Smollett's conviction on charges that he staged a racist and homophobic attack against himself in downtown Chicago in 2019 and lied to the police. So, because of that, they're not saying that he's innocent, but he is not a felon. That's essentially what that means. Do you think this is the best outcome for Jussie?
Yeah. At this point, yeah. What else can he do, or what else can anybody do? I mean, if I'm honest, if I was him, I don't even know if I would have done this documentary, because I would be like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and let this be done.
Separate
Wrap
yourself
it
from
up.
it. But I feel like a lot of people didn't know about the overturning of his case. And I'm pretty sure that's what probably greenlit this documentary to begin with. But he's actually done a movie. Ashley, did you know that?
Yeah.
The Lost Holiday,
Yes,
starring
I didn't know that.
him and Vivica A. Fox. He actually did an interview with Entertainment Tonight, again, talking about the case and talking about his biggest supporters. And he pretty much said that it was essentially Taraji P. Henson, she's family. And then Vivica A. Fox was the one who was like, come on, let's do this. And I'm like, well, I'm glad that he found some support in light of everything. Ashley, do you have any final thoughts on the truth about Jussie Smollett? Question mark.
I know that the director said that the purpose of this was not to rehabilitate his career and his image, but
Yep.
I will say that this did shed more light than I had expected going into it. Like, I thought it was just going to be a
Mm-hmm.
rehash and I knew all the details. So I was pleasantly surprised to have my perspective shifted on just flat out before thinking, like, why would he do that? Like, what was the point of all that? To,
Right.
oh shit, there is now a perspective of maybe it was a situation where he was framed and was set up and all these things happened. So it gives the opportunity for me to have more doubt in my feelings and consideration of what happened. And if nothing else, I think that's a win. So those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, especially for me, Mr. Eddie Jones, such a vocal presence in this documentary. And I think it's interesting that they highlighted, even in the twilight of his career, that he was caught in a lie.
Hmm.
And so for me, I'm just like, this ain't helping nobody, right?
Yep.
I was like, yo, really? I mean, but it's so funny when it comes to just cultural moments, when it comes to like crime or like missing people or whatever. I feel like it has this way of cycling around. Do you feel like this case will be revisited again, like in 20 years, or do you feel like this is it?
I mean, it depends on what else has transpired, because who knows what 20 years from now is going to look like.
True.
But I mean, I think this will be infamous for a while. I will
Yeah.
say that. I think it will live in infamy for a while. My question is, will he ever be able to reach the heights in his career that he once was moving towards?
Right.
And to be completely honest with y'all, I don't think that this should be held against him for the rest of his life, even if this was a hoax. There
I agree,
are way
girl.
bigger crimes and things that people commit. We've
Listen, in
had this
Hollywood,
conversation before.
yes,
And so,
yes.
like, we may side eye him and be like, yo, you were wild. I don't know why you did all that. But to like completely stall out and never get another opportunity in Hollywood, I wouldn't agree with that.
I agree. I agree. There are all types of deviants who are working to this day and got no shame at
Yep.
all. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm right there with you, Ashley. Alrighty. Well, if there's nothing else, time for hidden gems.
All right. I have one that actually does kind of correlate with our recap today because I have been diving into Hulu's The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, about the American college student Amanda who went to Italy for a study abroad program back in the early aughts and is wrongfully imprisoned for murder of her
Crazy.
roommate. So this retelling is based on the book by Amanda Knox herself. Amanda is an executive producer along with Monica Lewinsky, and it is a multi-episode season. And I think it's the first 3 episodes are out right now, and they'll subsequently be dropped and released. But Amanda Knox was 20 when all of this happened. I didn't remember her age. I didn't remember, honestly, even that it was in Italy. I think, I had a lot of thoughts and reminders about like visuals of her, but I didn't remember enough detail about the story and the case.
Yeah.
So to watch it and hear the details and see like the recreation of a lot of it is interesting to me
Mm.
because as far as true crime goes, this is one again, we talk about living in infamy. This went on for a very long time. She was sentenced originally to 25 years along with her Italian boyfriend, and then they were released after I think 4 years and then retried and then eventually acquitted. Like it's been a whole journey with her case that I can recall.
Mm.
So, she's 38 years old now. Her life is,
She
she's
lived a
married,
life.
she has
Goodness.
kids, but you can watch like a complimentary documentary on Hulu with her perspective where she's just talking about, obviously she's just never been the same after all of this. And so it's fascinating to see a true crime thing that happened again within our lifetimes that we were either too young or it was just kind of on the periphery of everything else that was going on
Yeah,
in life, and to
exactly.
revisit it with fresh eyes and understand it. So that's where I am with the Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. Long story short,
Interesting.
that is
Mm.
my hidden gem for the week. What about for you, Delora?
Yes, I have a hidden gem. It is a podcast. It is Now with Natalie. It's hosted by Natalie Emmanuel Lee. She typically does really good conversation interviews with her famous friends. It is very faith based, and I find it to be very inspiring. And she sat down with Jurnee. The episode was from July 23rd. It's called Unlocking Greatness, Jurnee Smollett on Sacrifice and Purpose. And it's really good because she talks about Jurnee's acting journey, and her new show, Smoke, and very, very inspiring stuff. I enjoyed the episode. It was a great conversation. As Ashley mentioned, Jurnee is our favorite Smollett. like we followed her career literally from the beginning, when she was Michelle's friend on Full House and beyond. So check it out, get inspired. And that's all I have for today, Ashley.
Very nice. Just about to say Jussie because we were talking about Jussie. Jurnee is one of the 2 women that if I ever get a chance to be in a film and have sisters, she's one of them. The other one being Zoe Saldana. Um, guys, that's it. That's all for today. Give us your thoughts. If you have a rating for this documentary, feel free to share it with us. Like for real, get into these comments because I'm just curious
Yes.
as to kind of where the spectrum is falling now that this is out. I listened to Higher Learning. Van and Rachel are not any more convinced of his innocence having seen this. So that's not just one perspective. We have ours. Please share yours. Also, please share this episode out with everybody you know. We appreciate it. We will be back with more in headlines and hot topics. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.